Hello everybody and welcome. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a trend I noticed over the last couple DLCs that Paradox has been doing with Hearts of Iron that I really appreciate, which is them not just dumping a bunch of releasables into the game that have nothing to do and just calling it a day. And in fact, they've actually started to add content for older releasables, which I really appreciate. But before we get into discussing that, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm pushing for 100 subscribers by the end of next month, the end of March. I would really appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get into that. Alright, so to go over what the map you're looking at is, I've pretty much shown every releasable or starting nation that got got content with the Gotterdammerung DLC that wasn't involving a focus tree or anything. So we can see the Congo's not here. They stopped being a releasable and became a starting nation. So it didn't really, but then a focus tree, so I didn't include them. They included the Antilles Confederation, so that gave everything in the Bahamas pretty much some content. And then they had the disunited Germany stuff, and they finally added Slovakia as a starting releasable, and then they had added a couple little things here and there. And it's just something I really noticed is the only thing they did that I really don't care for is that they added the Sokoto Caliphate and the Republic of Biafra. And with these two, they didn't really do anything. The Sokoto Caliphate has its own leader, unique portrait, which is pretty cool, but that's about it. They didn't even give Biafra one, which kind of sucks. But they added these two, and they don't have anything. They're just kind of there. And the funny thing is, neither of them have access to, let's actually just currently take over this. Neither of them have access to Laos, which is, Nigeria's good state. It has 3 rubber and almost 20 million people, whereas 1 million here and, 300 and 166 here. Sokoto does have this one core out in, Niger, which has 500,000, which is pretty good, but, they lost out on luggage. If you're playing this nation, you'd want to just play Nigeria. There's no reason for it. And that's kind of something, that was a thing that Paradox would do a lot, is that they dropped a DLC and they'd have all these releasables, which are cool at first, but then once you get over the fact that they are just brand new and kind of interesting, they are kind of worthless. They don't do anything. I don't mind the one like Slovakia they added, because Slovakia was an actual country today. Makes sense. They also gave it the ability to recreate the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So even if it it actually even has content too that you can kind of play around with. So it's not even just completely worthless. Then we go over to with Germany, and they gave all of the German new. They're technically not new because you could get them from France's focus tree with Disunite in Germany. But they weren't starting nations, and I don't really consider content where you have to have a different nation that you're not playing go down an ahistorical path to get. I don't really consider that content for the other nation. I wouldn't consider these as releasables because you can release them through that focus tree, but now there actually are releasables. Same with stuff like Albania. Albania can get cores on Debar and Kosovo, but that's only through the Italy focus tree after they annex them and then release them as a puppet, or the the Hungary Weedness Restoration focus, and then a couple of these countries can get access to the joint focus tree, but that's only if Hungary goes down an old history path. So I don't really count that as content for those nations because you cannot you'd have to fiddle with the the game rules to actually get that to happen consistently. But what I noted, what they did with this DLC is something I really appreciate, which is they not only did they make a lot of the new releasables actually not be worthless, they can at least do the Germany reunified, and then this expands to more decisions to core Alsace and Luxembourg, the Polish original German Empire states. It's so you can pretty much recore all of the I think South Jutland, maybe, I'm not sure about that one off the top of my head, but pretty much all the cores of the German Empire you can get, which is great. Makes all of these feel fun. You can actually do a playthrough of them, and it's not bad. They also gave this to Volga Germany, which makes Volga Germany actually have something to do. Now, it's very hard and wouldn't be easy, by any means. There's I've seen a video or two about it, but but like it makes it where it's not just this random releasable in the Soviet Union that was kind of it didn't do anything. Like it was cool. Like when No Step Back dropped, it's interesting. Like, oh, a little Volga German colony kind of area. And then you realize, oh, well, now we have just a useless releasable next to Stalingrad that you're never going to use because what's the point? Well, now it's an actual cool challenge run to restore Germany. Same with also a No Step Back releasable was Silesia, which was worthless. They gave it access to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. That's awesome. I actually have a run recorded of me doing that. I haven't edited it, and maybe I'll get it put together soon to release so I can get it off my computer. But it's so cool that like you could actually play Silesia and form Austria-Hungary and actually have a playthrough. Not to mention with the German Civil War, Silesia can actually rise up. So if you let them rise up and tag switch them, you could naturally play as Silesia without going into occupied territory and releasing them, which is awesome. I love that. Same down here with Lombardy, Venetia. It used to just be a releasable of Italy. Now it can also restore the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it also has a unique leader with the Archduke of Austria-Est, Robert von Habsburg, which is pretty cool. Like it went from being just another one of the releasables of Italy that kind of were just there to actually being a nation you could play and have fun with. This brings me over to, I really want them to add a reunited Italy formable, give Lombardy and Venetia access to it, because then it'd be able to form Austria-Hungary and Italy, and that'd be awesome and fun. Because then, like, something like that would just be super fun. Maybe be able to get a core on Savoy and Corsica or something. I don't know, like, you don't have to go that far, but stuff like that, that gives way more playability to the game, just because now there's releasables you can play that actually give you unique things to do. Because one of the biggest issues is a lot of the releasables, they're just kind of there. Like as I was talking about with these two, they added them to the game, but what value did they add? Nothing. Like just nothing at all. Now they did add two down here, which I would say, which you could argue, oh, that's a similar state, which is Katagana and Barot's who both have unique pictures, which is pretty cool. But the reason I don't hate them as much as like these two is that like Katagana can, I believe, if you do, I'm not sure how it happens, but can actually rise up in like a Congolese civil war. And then the Congo focus tree actually will give you a core. If you're going down one of the paths, will give you a core on this, which it's like, okay, I can kind of see the justification for them, but not really. Another reason why I don't hate them as much is because they expanded the Mutapa formable to have Zambia and Barot's be able to form it, and then Katagana, as well as all of the nations besides these two, can form Latin Africa. So like it's not as big of a deal that they exist because they're not completely worthless and they have some functionality with the Congo focus tree. And just it makes the game a lot better when they don't just add a bunch of useless formables. Like it's okay when it's like an actual country, like a modern day country today, because it's like I understand, like yeah, like with like the Guyana, not necessarily the Guyanas, but like I can see why someone who would live in one of these, like in Africa or in any of the former colonies that were during this time period, would want to play as their own country. That makes sense to me. Why would it makes sense, but like something like the Sokoto Caliphate, I don't know how many Nigerians really care to play as it, and instead of just playing as Nigeria, especially when functionally Nigeria is actually just better. Like it just, or if we go to the previous DLC, Yucatan and like the Republic of the Rio Grande, they added those two, and they have nothing. Like Yucatan, technically, like it's part of the expansion with the Central American, but you could have done that without adding it as a releasable. And like the Republic of the Rio Grande does nothing. Those are just worthless releasables that they added to the game that don't do much. Like even and the same with like Quebec. Like it just, I get like these areas might have their own little identities and stuff, but like if you don't give them anything to do, what really is the point? The only reason I don't hate like Quebec, because you can kind of core them with like a Chile has a path where they can core them. So like, but even then, you could have just gave them cores on the states. So what's it really matter? So like, it just, you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really add much value to the game adding these without adding content. Like if they add content to them, I really don't mind. Like, at least these two can form formables and have some relation to Congo that makes them not completely a throwaway. Then you got these nations that all can make formables and do stuff and actually could have playthroughs of them. It's not that bad. But then we have like, for example, Kashubia, which is like a core on on this region right here, which was also added with the No Step Back DLC with Silesia. It's got nothing. It's still a worthless form. It's releasable. That just is randomly here. Who really cares? Like, it at least has cores in 2 different countries, so at least it's a little different. But the problem is it's in an area where, like, Germany can usually core that area. Or Poland can core the, Poland or Germany can core the area themselves, like, so they can have cores on all of the territory that Kashubia makes up. So, like, it makes them worthless. Same with, like, a lot of the Soviet Union releasables. It's like, why do I care that, like, Karelia exists? Like, I don't think Karelia can form, like, Karelia can't form, the Nordics, I don't believe. We can actually check that if we want. I actually stand corrected, like, they can actually do that. It's like, it makes them actually, like, Karelia actually can form the Nordic unity, so it's not as bad. It makes more sense. Same with, like, the Sapni. They can actually do that too, I believe. So, like, they don't feel like a worthless releasable. But then you have other stuff like, where would be one here? This one, Nenets. What's the purpose of Nenets? And, like, a few of these others. Like, they don't really serve any purpose. And so, like, what's the point of even having them in the game? Like, sometimes they're kind of cool, but again, no real purpose. And I think that's something Paradox really needs to work on, is giving what they add and put dev time into purpose. Like, the Sokoto Caliphate. They had to code in that these 2 states, as well as this state, are cores of a new tag, Sokoto, draw a damn picture, and then give it a trait. Like, that took dev time. Same with, like, the Republic of the Bifra. Same with, like, I guess with the Sokoto, it's not really that hard, the flag. But this one, like, they made a flag. They programmed in that this state's a core of Bifra and gave it a unique, like, a tag. They did that, and what was the point? Like, even if it took them an hour, one person, 1 hour, that was a waste of that hour's dev time. At least with, like, these, they weren't as much of a waste. Like, or with any of these. Like, every single one of these, at least, I don't believe is a waste at all. Like, the picture, the anything. I think none of this was a waste. Doing that, like, giving him a portrait, which, because he ties in with, like, the Hungary tree, and just on its own works, not a waste. Slovakia, which already had, just already kind of existed, but programming them in to the start wasn't a waste. Actually, like, now Volga Germany, not a waste of time. Like, I get, like, but at the time it was a waste. Like, it was a complete waste of time at the time that they could have used to add, like, I know we think they cut a democratic part of the Russian tree. Like, because we have, like, in the files, there's, like, there's some different stuff, and it's clear they had a democratic, like, probably Kerensky kind of path planned, but it probably got cut. Well, doing all these formables, releasables, probably didn't help. Like, and that's just something that I really don't appreciate that Paradox would do. I think now at least they're going through and adding all these, adding stuff for some of these releasables, which I really appreciate. Like, giving all of these stuff, giving all of this stuff. I do appreciate that, and it makes me hope for the future that they'll continue to do this and not just add in random stuff that really doesn't help dev time. Like, or spend the time to actually improve. Like, if they, for the next few DLCs, add little stuff that will make some of these releasables, like they did with this DLC, just give them something to do, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think it's a waste of dev time to make Volga Germany be able to form Germany. Just because like it actually gives it something to do. I don't think that's a waste of dev time. But just adding in random formables 100% is. And if they're just going to keep doing that, it's so much of a time waste. Like with the Middle East, if they add in more like they're adding in starting, like they're coding in like new puppets and stuff, I don't think that is necessarily a waste of time, depending on how it interacts with the focus trees, which I think they're going to interact with Iraq a decent amount. So like I don't think that's a waste of dev time. But like when they added in Kurdistan originally, it did have an achievement, so it actually had something to do. But I don't think it really had a purpose. I don't like they could have not done that, and it would have been just the same. Kind of same with like the Satmi. But at least they had a formable, but again, it's a formable like for stuff you already would have had. Same like Karelia, it's like it kind of has use, kind of doesn't. But like Karelia, at least like you can with the Finland now you can do an uprising. I like when they add in stuff for this because like Karelia used to not be useful, but then they added where like the Finnish focus tree you can spark an uprising. I don't know if before Arms Against Tyranny they could form the Nordic formable. If not, real waste of time. But if they could, then it wouldn't have been as much. But like, I just hope that they don't keep adding more and more useless stuff. Like, when this DLC drops, I hope they don't just have random releasables in the Middle East that have nothing to do. Like we saw that they probably are adding a Kurdish path that they didn't really show off in the Iraqi tree, which is great. Like that'll give Kurdistan an actual use. Same when but like it makes up for the fact that they wasted dev time back when they did it. But I hope they stop doing that and just actually focus on stuff they already have in the game. Like instead of doing this, they could have added more. They could have done something different in Congo. Maybe they could have added a little bit more to Congo, or maybe they could have done something else. Who knows what they could have done. So I want them to not waste their time on stuff that could in the future be nice, but at the moment is not. Like I don't care if they had a releasable in Iraq in the next month, and then in 2 years they add a DLC that adds stuff for it. That's great, but they could have done that then, not now. So I'm getting a little rambly, but hopefully you guys understood what I'm saying. And I guess I'll wrap it up and see you guys in the next one.